Thank you very much. Indeed, I will talk about beef traits today. We have a beef evaluation in the Netherlands, and we updated it in April to an animal model, and we also included an extra data source. And that in itself would be a reason to present it at interval, but we also noticed when we presented changes to our Dutch bull owners that some of them actually said, oh, very interesting, do we have a beef evaluation? It's very good that it's introduced. And we had to remind them that we already had a beef evaluation since 1998. So I thought it was interesting to also share with you the fact that we do have a beef evaluation at all. So why beef traits? We are in a mainly dairy-oriented setting, so why would we look at beef traits? What traits do we have available? What model do we use? What results do we get? So beef, why is it interesting even in a dairy-oriented setting? Well, 50% of the calves is male, and only very few make it to the breeding bull sector, and most of the male calves are used in the beef sector. So it's interesting to have some kind of meat production value of a calf when it is utilized in the beef cattle sector. Besides that, we also want to improve beef suitability in dual-purpose breeds. In the Netherlands, we have quite some local breeds that are mainly dual-purpose, and it's important to also support these local breeds with this beef evaluation. Furthermore, we have quite a lot of utilization crosses where, for example, in Holstein cattle, where we do not want to keep the calf, there will be crosses with, for example, Belgian Blue, so that the calves are better suitable for the beef sector. And then it is important to have a compact information figure about this carcass traits. And of course, it can be used in a coal-oriented commercial crossbreeding scheme. So what traits do we have available? All traits are measured at slaughterhouses, and we have carcass weight, which is measured in kilograms. We have growth, which is actually a standardized carcass weight based on the age of the animal. We measure muscularity, the amount of meat on the carcass, using the syrup system. And it should be noted that even within the syrup classes, for example, the S class, we also have a second scale, which would be plus, 0, or minus. So you can be S plus, S0, S minus. And then in total, you would add up with 18 classes for muscularity. And the same holds true for fat coverage of the carcass, which is measured on a scale from 1 to 5, but within each class, you also have the plus, 0, and minus addition, so you add up with 15 classes. For veal calves, we also measure the color of the meat. We measure on a scale of 1 to 15, but we only use the 1 to 10 observations. Because for pink veal, we do not have enough observations to include them as a separate group. Now, these traits are measured actually on 3 groups of animals. So you have the culled cows, which are quite often coming from a dairy background. With some adits, they should be between 200 and 800 kilograms. They should be over 600 days of age, and at maximum 550 days in lactation. The second group is the veal calves, which of course are lighter and also younger. And then the fattening bulls. So in total, we add up with 10 traits. For the cows, that's carcass weight, muscularity, and fat coverage. For veal calves, we have growth, so the standardized weight, muscularity, fat coverage, and also color of the meat. And for the bulls, we have growth, muscularity, and fat coverage. So the data that we have, actually in the Dutch herds, we have data since 1995. And we started our first model in 1998. And the Flemish herds we use since last April, but the data is already since 2006 available. We end up with observations on the roughly 5.5 million calves, 3.5 million cows, and 336,000 bulls. And a lot of these observations come from dairy cattle and also from crossbreds. Then the model that we apply, it's a multi-trait, multi-breed model. So we use we analyze all the 10 traits at the same time, and also for all breeds. And then within the animal groups, we separate 3 models. For the calves, we have a model that includes herd time slaughter date, a sex effect, because the calves can be male and female. We have a regression on age, and we have a regression on heterosis and recombination to correct for the crossbreeding effect. A genetic effect for the animal and a residual. For cows, it's more or less the same. It also has herd time slaughter date. It doesn't have sex because cows are always females. We have an age effect, but that's fixed for the cows, so just fixed classes of half years. We have a seasonal effect, an effect for lactation states, and again heterosis and recombination. And for the bulls, it's herd time slaughter date, the covariate on age, and also the heterosis and recombination. Then some parameters that we use. First on the diagonal, that's in bold. You see the heritabilities. They're around 0.2 for all the traits. And in the fattening bulls, in the beef bulls, it's slightly higher for muscularity and fat coverage. Then if we look at the genetic correlations, we look within the 3 animal groups. The correlations between muscularity, fat coverage, and carcass weight are all positive, which might be expected. But you also see that the genetic correlation for color, which is in gray here, the color of the meat in veal calves, has no correlation with the carcass traits. Then if we look at the genetic correlation of traits over the different groups, then for example for muscularity in the first column, you see that the correlation between muscularity in cows and calves is 0.53, and the correlation between cows and beef bulls is 0.78. That means 2 things. The first is that their muscularity is not the same trait in these 3 animal groups, so it's a reason to analyze it separately. But you also see that it's quite a positive correlation, which justifies the multi-trait model, because information from the animal groups can actually add up to animals in different groups. So information on cows actually helps to predict the breeding values in calves. So if we look at some breeding values for these 10 traits in 4 different breeds, then in the first column you see the results for Holstein, and you see that there's all around 100. That's because we show the breeding values on a relative scale with an average of 100 and a standard deviation of 4 points. And because we use a Holstein black and white base, the Holsteins will be around 100 here. On the right-hand side, you see the Belgian Blues, which are superior in all the traits, which might be expected as a primary beef breed. And then in the middle, you see 2 dual-purpose breeds, the MRI and the Dutch Friesian. And you see that they're quite intermediate between Holstein and Belgian Blue. So you can see that the dual-purpose breeds clearly have a better carcass composition than Holstein. Then what we wanted to do is have a beef index, just one overall figure that you can use to put the bulls in order. And this beef index, well, the breeding goal should be to improve the veal calf and the bull traits, and not so much the cow traits. So because we have a multi-trait model, the cow information can actually help to predict the calf and bull traits, but it's not used in the index itself. The index is based on economic weights for the different traits. And let's put some more information on the paper, which will be in the Innsbruck bulletin, but want to keep it at this. And the main goal of the beef index is to provide a meat production value of the calf when utilized in the beef sector, whereas our production index provides milk production value of the calf when utilized in the dairy sector. So we should use it to compare these uses of the calf. So if we look at the beef index breeding values, I put on the y-axis a number of breeds, and on the x-axis you see the range in breeding values. And what, Belgian Blue is on top, and you see it's very superior to the others. It's always the highest breeding value. And some other beef breeds that are listed below are also very high. Then you see the dual-purpose breeds who are intermediate, and some more dairy breeds who are, low to, they can compete with some of the dual-purpose bulls, but they're not superior. And the nice thing is that if you look at the Holstein Friesian, it's the fourth from the bottom, They actually see that the best Holstein Friesian is about as good as the worst Belgian Blue, because there's quite some overlap. So it shows there's variation within breeds, but also across breeds, and that there's room for selection. And if we look at the genetic trend, this is the genetic trend for cows for a number of breeds. The top 3 lines are beef breeds. You see they're quite stable. Then the next 2, the orange and the, well, ocean blue one, that are MRI and Groninger, 2 dual-purpose breed. You see a slight decrease there in the genetic trends, which might indicate that there's some more focus on dairy in these dual-purpose breeds. And then there are a number of dairy breeds which are also quite stable. So conclusions, our beef evaluation model uses the data in an optimal setting by using multi-breed and multi-trait analysis. It allows to compare for breeds and also for bulls. But we also see that the beef breeds are usually, well, on average, better than dual purpose, and those are better than dairy. It can aid in coal-oriented commercial crossbreeding, and also for beef production suitability within the dual-purpose breeds, which is especially interesting for the smaller local breeds that we have, and that also needs supporting. So the beef index aids the choice of bulls in crossbreeding and support the dual-purpose breeds to a more dual-purpose oriented breeding. Thank you for your attention.